wake of the global economic meltdown of 2008, the European Union has been struggling with a slow-moving but unshakable crisis that has underscored the flaws behind the common currency, the euro. Now, the turmoil has toppled governments and pushed a number of countries into a second recession. To talk about the 2013 and what's ahead, we are joined by Dr. Martin Edwards from Seton Hall University. And it's always good to see you, and thanks for joining us here at Ebru today.
Good morning.
Well, we're hoping that 2013 is certainly going to be a good year for Europe, but there's been so much uncertainty. What do you think lies ahead right now? It's a big, broad question. We'll break it down, but...
Sure. If you look at two things that are on the horizon, there are going to be elections, okay? And this means elections in Italy, which are around the end of February, and elections in Germany, which are around the end of September. And in a sense, we aren't really worried about this we basically know what's going to happen. But the danger is that because elections are approaching, policymakers aren't going to have a whole lot of wiggle room if the crisis deepens.
Let's talk about how this all started back in 2009. For folks who might not know the history, but it all started when Greece unveiled basically, and it had a little debt that it was hiding.
It had a whole lot of debt.
A whole lot of debt, I guess we should say.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the crisis sort of had its origins in Greece, and markets started to panic, and they started to look at other countries that they realized, wow, they're having high levels of indebtedness. And of course, the European economy had across the Eurozone, had problems with competitiveness. There were, slow economic growth. And so this makes this crisis really hard to fight, because when you have unemployment being high, the natural impulse is for governments to spend money.
Well, what's amazing right now, you talk about that unemployment. Unemployment in Spain and Greece is now at 25%. How do you tackle that?
It's incredibly hard. And it's incredibly hard because the natural impulse is to try to figure out ways to put people back to work. And those governments can't spend that money to do so. So it's incredibly difficult. And so what's necessary is going to be slow reform of these economies to open them up more to opportunities and to allow for jobs. But growth isn't really on the horizon for 2013.
Well, let's talk about Germany, and they've bailed out Greece on a number of occasions now. Do you think this is working? I mean, did they have any other choice? I mean, I guess that's been up for debate as well. But here we are looking at Greece, and they're still at 25% unemployment.
Yeah. The only real option that Germany had was to let Greece go. And that, I don't mean go in sort of a relationship sense, but I do mean they would have had to leave the Eurozone, which would have had huge catastrophic ripple effects across financial markets.
Well, and explain that, because, again, all of a sudden you have everybody using the euro. How would that make it so influential if Greece were to leave?
Sure. Well, the leaving is very simple. Greece would just have to reprint its own currency, the drachma, which it had before it converted. But of course, the problem is, they don't have trillions of these notes lying around. Right? And so that raises a question, then what's that valued at? And so that price would have to be set in the market. The markets would obviously doubt the credibility of the Greek government because it had basically defaulted. And the danger would have been for banks that had loans denominated in Greece in euros. Now they're all largely worthless. So the rationale for Germany to intervene then would have been, well, we're basically saving our own banking sector.
Do you think it was a good idea when we look back on everything that it was good to convert to the euro for all these countries to do so?
Well, the euro, I think, was a good idea in principle, but in practice, that meant they had to try to figure out how to make their economies grow closer together. And while they certainly did in the financial side, in terms of competitiveness, there's this big divide between North and South that isn't going away. And it's also necessary for these countries to police themselves, which obviously didn't happen in Greece. So had they paid more attention to the factors that might cause the zone to unravel, we really wouldn't have been in this mess.
And very quickly, one last question. 2013, how is this all going to affect the U.S.?
Well, let's see. I think the danger is that the crisis is we're seeing some optimism, but no one's really saying yes, this is the year the euro recovers. The danger is that it's not going to be a source of growth for the U.S. to rely on.
And it's certainly going to be slow moving, as you said before.
Absolutely.
So we just have to, practice a little patience.
Yes.
Okay. Always good to see you. Thanks for being here on Ebru Today.
Thank you very much.